UFC 308 was an absolutely wild card with a bunch of great and shocking moments, but most importantly, it gave us a lot of answers to questions we had coming in. It also set some things up for the future, so let's talk about some of the biggest takeaways from UFC 308. Let's just get this one out of the way because the clearest takeaway from this entire card is that Ilia Topuria is that guy. I'm probably gonna make an entire video just glazing this guy's cheeks, but my god, Topuria is such a beast. I really thought Pereira would run away with the Fighter of the Year award, and honestly, with all that he's accomplished this year, he'll probably still get it, but my Fighter of the Year is Topuria. He knocked out two of the best featherweights of all time in the same year, and they were both on the pound for pound list at the time of their fights. That's just a different tier of opponents in comparison to the guys Pereira has beaten, but what Pereira accomplishes beyond his opponents as well, so yeah, whatever, give it to whoever, but my award is going to Topuria. He's doing some incredible things, and this guy is only 27. From what we learned in this card, and from what we've been seeing throughout his career, I don't think there's anyone currently at featherweight that can beat that man. But let's move on because I'll literally end up spending 45 minutes talking about this guy. The next takeaway I had is that Khamzat's next fight will be for the title. Khamzat's performance against Whittaker was very impressive. While the question we had before this fight still stands, can he fight a full 5-round fight at his intense pace? We did get an answer to the question of, is he really an elite contender? And the answer is absolutely. The fact that he crushed Whittaker's jaw so quickly is actually pretty wild. Having that type of squeeze is unheard of and will definitely add a talking point when he eventually fights Dricus or Strickland. Speaking of Dricus and Strickland, though I do think Khamzat's next fight will be for the title, I don't think he'll be in the next title fight. I still think you gotta have Dricus for Strickland next. The best case scenarios for the UFC is either you have Strickland win and he becomes the more entertaining champion for Khamzat to fight. The lead up would bring in a lot more viewers and really build up the fight. Or you have Dricus win and now you have time to set up a card in South Africa so you can have Dricus headline that card against a big scary contender in Khamzat. So having Dricus versus Strickland first really sets things up nicely for the UFC, but regardless, Khamzat is definitely fighting the winner of that fight if it happens. On that note, the third takeaway from UFC 308 is that Whittaker has officially entered gatekeeper status. It's a sad way to see Whittaker go out. You really would have liked to see him drag the fight into deep waters to see him test Chimaev, but that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes, or in this scenario, the way the jaw crumbles. I do feel for Whittaker, but at this point, we can't keep making excuses for him. Adesanya had his number, against Dricus it was an off night, and now against Chimaev it was bad luck. In these big fights, something always seems to go wrong for him, and unfortunately because of that, I do think it's going to be hard to put him in this spot again. Even if he can string together another 3 or 4 fight win streak, what will the division look like? The division needs to move on, and I think that leaves Whittaker on the outskirts. My next takeaway is that Pereira vs Ankalaev has to be next. Ankalaev is a guy that a lot of people, including me, wanted to see Pereira fight for some time now. Him being able to fight at both levels at an elite level is something we haven't seen Pereira deal with since his fight with Blachowicz, which was his toughest fight at 205 to date. And I think from this fight, and from what we've seen when they fought, Ankalaev is a step up from Blachowicz. So I think he should 100% be next in line for Pereira, but I don't think he's gonna give us the fight we're expecting to see. We all expect Ankalaev to test Pereira's grappling, that's why we want to see the fight, but from what it seems, the only way Ankalaev is shooting for a takedown is if he gets hurt. Which I mean I'm here for, but against Pereira, if you get hurt, you more than likely have a very limited amount of time left that you're gonna be conscious. So it is a risky move, but I love it. My second last takeaway is that Lon Murphy looked great, but I think he'll never really be a serious contender. The featherweight division is an absolute murderer's row of fighters. The amount of guys that are ahead of him in the rankings and the skill level of those guys, from what I've been seeing from Murphy, I just don't think he'll be able to work up that ladder. I mean, you have Evloev, Sterling, Rodriguez is still in the mix, Lopez, Ortega still needs to fight. I just think he probably isn't at the level to beat those guys, and he's already 33, which makes him older than guys like Holloway and Yair. I just don't see him improving much, which he'll need to from where he's currently at to have any success at the top of this division. Now Farid Basharat on the other hand, he has some potential and is my final takeaway. From what I've been seeing from Basharat, how he dealt with the last minute weight change of this fight, how he performed in this fight. He got tagged a few times, but all in all, he controlled both the striking and the grappling. At 27, he's in a really good position to move up the rankings quickly. Bantamweight is no easier than featherweight, but I think he can make some serious noise at 135. So those were my main takeaways. Obviously, there's still a lot to talk about. Shara Bullet looked great, Aslan did good, but the ones I mentioned is what was on my mind the most after watching this card. So let me know what you guys thought, give me some of your takeaways, and just let me know how you guys are feeling.